The thing that the Orange Bowl always brings back memories for me is being a champion. We won our national championship, the national championship that I played in, which was 1987 against Oklahoma, on this field in front of our fans for the most part. And so that's what I think back to, is just the championships.
When I think about the Orange Bowl, I've got a lot of great memories, and probably the 72 season, the perfect season, and all the games that we won in the Orange Bowl and how meaningful they were to enable us to have the perfect season.
The Orange Bowl was like our backyard. It was like when you were a kid playing in your backyard. The Orange Bowl was a unique facility, and the thing that people don't realize is that during the years, starting in 70, in 71, 72, 73, those years especially, people don't realize that the fans were so into the Miami Dolphins. They were so, when we started to win under SHULA, the fans became so engrossed in the team and became part of the team. They felt that, you know, they could address us by our first names, and they were like part of our family.
I remember when in 1968, 1969, we actually had our morning meetings in the Orange Bowl locker room. And for those people that have been in an Orange Bowl locker room, it's nothing like today's locker rooms. It was a big room with hooks on the wall and benches, and so we had to sit through team meetings on those benches without chairbacks in the first 2 years. So times have certainly changed in the facilities that the team has.
The Orange Bowl was always special because we felt like it was an advantage to play at home, and it should be, for a couple of reasons. And number one, just where the Orange Bowl sat. I mean, in Miami, the heat, that was one thing. The other thing was just the fans themselves, the way the bowl was built and the noise in there. We always felt we had an advantage playing in the Orange Bowl. Teams would come in and it would just be, I mean, we wouldn't play any easier or any harder. We just play hard like we always do. But playing in that building certainly gave us an advantage.
The game that I remember the most was the Bears game in '85. And that's the best first half of football that I've ever been around as a coach. You know, the Bears were good. That's the only game they lost that year. And I think we had 33 points at halftime, and we just were on fire. And our fans, I remember when I pulled into the parking lot, 3 hours before kickoff, our fans were there and they were excited, and they were looking for a great evening, and we gave them one.
Before my first game as a starter, we happened to be playing Florida in 1987, and I remember back under the stands there, leaning over the fence, tossing my morning breakfast. And Melvin Bratton, who was my fullback, came up to me, put his arm around me. He was a senior. He said, "Steve, you gonna be okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be okay. Just let me get this out of my stomach." So I was very nervous, and then of course, you know, running through the tunnel was always a fond memory. The cool blast of the fire extinguishers kind of on your body, and just coming out to the excitement of the crowd.
The Orange Bowl was a wonderful place to play. Loud, and the fans loved it, and especially late in the year. Come December, and it's like it is now, it's 84 degrees today and 79, 89% humidity, and those guys would come flying in from Chicago or New York or wherever, the fat boys we call them, and man, we'd wilt them. Fourth quarter, we knew we owned them. It was so noisy. That was, you know, the thing about the Orange Bowl. I hear it may be going away, and I'm sad to hear that. Matter of fact, we drove past the Orange Bowl last night, the situation we went to, and we had a moment of silence for the old Orange Bowl. We had some really historic, fun days in that place.
Maybe the closeness of the fans to the field. I think you should say, as opposed to now, to the stadiums now. It was that type of a feeling, the closeness of the fans. And the the fans play a big part.
Every time I cross over this intersection off of one of the highways here, 836, going west or east, over on the side of it is the Orange Bowl. So every time you come up that hill, you're almost level with the press box. And every time I go by there, I look there, if I have my kids with me, I said, hey, that used to be my office. Every Sunday, that's where my desk was. He says, where at? I said, in both end zones.
The Orange Bowl, it was made of steel and concrete, but it came alive on game day. That building would oscillate and vibrate and tremble, and it was all created by the fans in the building, but it was a cauldron that truly was the 12th man for the Miami Dolphins. We felt emboldened and empowered. Our opponents felt intimidated. It was a tremendous asset. One of the great venues ever in the NFL, and the Orange Bowl was a huge part of the Miami Dolphins' success.
The Orange Bowl was like our backyard. It was like when you were a kid playing in your backyard. The Orange Bowl was a unique facility, and the thing that people don't realize is that during the years, starting in 70, in 71, 72, 73, those years especially, people don't realize that the fans were so into the Miami Dolphins. They were so, when we started to win under SHULA, the fans became so engrossed in the team and became part of the team. They felt that they could address us by our first names, and they were like part of our family. And the interesting thing is when we used to leave the locker room to come on the field, especially in 72, when we were going 10, 11, 12 games into the season, undefeated, we would come out of the locker room and we'd be in the tunnel ready to be introduced. And the fans were so excited to see their team. They were so enthused to see their team that they started cheering. And you could hear and the cheering got so loud that the energy and the electricity that came from those fans literally infected the players. And I can remember sometimes in that huddle where the hair in the back of my neck would stand up from the electricity being delivered from the stands. It was a very emotional place. It was a very, very, it was really the 12th man. The Orange Bowl was the 12th man. It was, teams hated to come and play the Dolphins in the Orange Bowl. They knew that, number one, the fans were so into it. Second of all, the heat in the fourth quarter, we would have them on the ropes and we would knock them out in the fourth quarter. It was just a great place to play. And like I said, when I pass on and I get cremated, I want my ashes to be spread in the base of the Orange Bowl, the field of the Orange Bowl, but it's not going to be there. Hopefully, I'll outlive the Orange Bowl, but somewhere around there, my ashes will be spread.
The Orange Bowl was always special because we felt like it was an advantage to play at home, and it should be, for a couple of reasons. And number one, just where the Orange Bowl sat. I mean, in Miami, the heat, I still remember John Brody and San Francisco coming in, and he couldn't finish the game because of the heat. That was one thing. The other thing was just the fans themselves, the way the bowl was built and the noise in there. We always felt we had an advantage playing in the Orange Bowl. Teams would come in and it would just be, I mean, we wouldn't play any easier or any harder. We just play hard like we always do. But playing in that building certainly gave us an advantage.